let me be clear, Marvel Rivals is a really hot topic right now, and I might be stretching it a bit trying to relate it towards books, but here's the thing. I think it's a really fantastic idea to try and combine two things that I'm really interested in, which is Marvel Rivals and books. So for this month's TBR, I will be using a character spinner wheel and then choosing books based on Marvel Rivals characters. I might also include some gameplay clips, and some of the characters I am good at. I mainly play strategist characters, which are like the healer type characters if you don't play the game. So I prefer to kind of stay with strategists, though I have been trying to learn some Vanguard characters as well as Duelist characters, but I'm not very good at them, so you might be seeing some epic fail gameplay as well if I end up getting like all Duelists. But without further ado, let's just get into the spins, and I'll talk about the books as I go and also sort of the logic behind why I chose that book for that particular character. So for our first spin, the character is Ultron. Okay, so Ultron is actually one of my least favorite Marvel characters, and I actually don't really play him much either because I'm not good at flying characters. And Ultron is a pretty like interesting character within the Marvel lore. He is a man-made robot who hates humanity. He was also the villain in Avengers 2, which was Avengers Age of Ultron, so he's pretty well known. Book that I decided to go with might be stretching sort of like his character backstory a little bit because it's a young adult sci-fi that has like a very key romance plotline, and it's a book called Crier's War by Nina Varela, and I believe this one follows two characters, one who is a human and the other who is sort of like an automaton, and there is this war that has separated humanity and the automatons that they have made. And I believe in this society that humanity has now become servants to the ruling class of automatons, and this book is sort of like a love story between these two girls, who one is the daughter of the sovereign and then one of her human servants. So I do feel like this one plays with those similar themes about man against robot dynamic or man against technology that Ultron's character is really focused on, although the author is definitely going about exploring those themes in a different way, but I still feel like it fits for this character.
I have finished the job for you. I'm just dying.
What am I? Invisible?
Soldiers are always...
For our next spin, the character is Loki, which I'm actually more happy about because I do play as Loki quite often. He's actually one of my most played characters, so that's a good one to get. Plus, he's also one of my favorite characters from the Marvel lore and also just mythology as well. Alright, so my pick for Loki is also kind of like maybe stretching the prompt a little bit, and I do feel like with a character like Loki, I could have gone for something more classic to Norse mythology. There's even like also books that are written about Loki both by Marvel and by other authors, and there are some like other Norse mythology inspired books that I could go for, but one that I'm kind of like leaning towards, and this one I do feel like it seems kind of strange just based on the character, but it's called Blood Mercy by Vila Roth. So this is like sort of pitched as like a very political based romantasy story where we're following a main character named Cassia. She is the daughter of like influential noble within her society, and there's also this other group called the Hesperenes, who are basically like vampires. She kind of starts to have this romance with a guy named Leo, who is one of the Hesperene diplomats. The book seems to largely focus on Cassia starting to come into her own and sort of forming her own sense of identity, and I feel like that kind of speaks a lot to Loki's storyline, is him trying to separate his identity from the rest of his family. And our character Leo, as a Hesperene, he's a much more like soft-hearted guy, but because of the sort of expectations of the Hesperenes, they're sort of perceived very negatively. So I feel like that also kind of relates to some of the struggles that Loki's character speaks to. So I feel like both of these two characters together have different aspect that speaks to Loki's lore. So I feel like that's why it kind of works, but I might end up changing this one, especially if I'm able to get one of those books that is actually like about Loki.
Us against the world!
I'm a true team player. Your powers are mine!
Us against the world! You owe me one.
Alright, so our next spin is Human Torch. So if you kind of caught the intro, I did leave a little Easter egg. I was using like choice words that kind of connected to the Fantastic Four, so I am really excited about this one because I love Fantastic Four, and I have not yet seen the new movie, but that is on my list soon. But so the character that we got for this one is Human Torch, and his powers are like he basically just turns into flames, and fire and like flame always reminds me of dragons, and I love fantasy, so I have a lot of different dragon books. So I actually have 3 options here, and I'll probably do some more research and sort of choose based on whether or not there is a character who is kind of similar to Human Torch in personality. So he's kind of like a playboy, he's very snarky and sarcastic. I feel like that is something that is often found within a lot of fantasy, especially romantasy books, so I don't feel like I should have too hard of a time trying to find one that is similar to him. But the first of the 3 options is a book called The Night Ends with Fire. This is actually pitched as like a Mulan retelling, so I'm quite interested in this one, and I have had it quite a while. It's obviously very flame coated on the cover, so I feel like it fits. Another one is called Fear the Flames. This one also dragons in it. There's dragons on the cover. It doesn't have as much of like a fire-esque cover as following a main character who think that she's trying to stage some sort of coup to like free her dragon who's been kidnapped, so that could work. And then my last one, and this is one that has a lot of controversy around it, particularly regarding the romance in it, but it's called Firebird by Juliet Cross. As you can kind of see on the cover, our main character has like these dragon sort of scales, and then the sprayed edge also has like a dragon. This one is actually like inspired by Roman history, and once again it's a romantasy. But part of the problem that has come from this, and that a lot of people have commented on, is that the main character might be a slave that it falls in love with the person enslaving her. So that's a little bit, I feel like, too dark of a theme for a character like Johnny, so I'm kind of leaning more towards the other ones, but I could always just like pick something else. I don't really have anything else off the top of my head that has like fire powers and dragons and stuff like that, but I do think maybe one of these 3 options could work.
Needs a hand sometimes.
Extermination!
Sometimes. Or it doesn't.
That was so hot! Still for the win!
Double kill! That's 3!
Alright, so our next spin is Venom. Of course this is what happened to me. Of course it's Venom. So I think it's pretty obvious what kind of a book we're leading toward. Okay, so our next character is Venom, which, if you don't know why I'm laughing so much at that, he is basically like, he's this thing called a symbiote, and he's basically kind of like this alien monster thing. So yeah, we definitely have to go for some monster alien type book, and the Venom girlies I think would try and kill me if I didn't choose a monster smut book. So that's what we're doing. I have actually been wanting to read this one recently, and it is Kiss of the Basilisk by Lindsay Straub. I believe we're following a main female character who, she lives in this world where basilisks train human girls in the art of seduction so that nobles will choose them as their brides. So our main character is one of these girls who is training with one of the basilisks in order to make herself a more appealing bride or a human prince or noble. So yeah, I've heard some reviews about this, and this is like very spicy. So I would be wary going into that. If you're, watching this video and don't know, just look up the content warnings. Still, I'm excited to read this one, and I really don't have any clue what to expect. So our next and last spin is Namor. So our next spin was the character Namor, who is the king of Atlantis, and he kind of has like almost like mermaid-esque powers and stuff like that. So he's like king of the seas, and in the game Marvel Rivals he has these like little squids that shoot people, so he's kind of funny. He also has an obsessive crush on the character that I play, which is Sue Storm, or Invisible Woman. So he is a bit more like, I think, a funny character within the lore of Marvel Rivals. Think of his character, I largely think of him as like king of the seas. So I have two options here that have like very nautical themes. First one is sort of similar to Kiss of the Basilisk, also another sort of monster type romance book, and it's called A Duet with the Siren Duke. This is the fourth book in the Married to Magic series written by Elise Kova. I have actually read the other three and did quite enjoy them. I really enjoyed the first one. The second one was kind of a miss, and then I did like the third one as well, and I've been waiting to get to this one. Obviously you can see that our male love interest is a siren, which I think is pretty consistent with Namor's character lore, and I'm also really interested to sort of see the world building within this, because this could give those same vibes of this sort of Atlantean kingdom that he rules over. She also kind of looks like Sue a little bit, so like maybe it's like Namor fantasy almost. And then the other one that I have, this one is a YA book. This was the YA Fairy Loot, June, I believe, and it's called Air of Storms. And following a main character who is from like a family who wields like fire powers, but she ends up having like water and storm type magic. The sort of design is very nautical. There's also like some sort of competition, and there's like the palace, and they're sort of like competing to be the new rulers of this kingdom. So I do feel like that ties in the royal aspect of Namor's lore as well. So either of those two I think would work for character.
That is much better.
Double KO.
So that was 5 books based on 5 Marvel Rivals characters. I don't know how well I did in terms of finding books that are actually accurate to their characters, but I did try my best. I know that some of them were kind of stretching it a little bit too much. Like, I probably could have done better at finding one that is actually about Loki or Norse mythology for his character, but my main goal is to try and read down the books that I already own. So hopefully you did enjoy this, and hopefully maybe you enjoyed the gameplay clips as well, and hopefully I did well at these characters. Like, some of the characters I have played before, like Loki, and I have played a little bit of Namor. Ultron and Human Torch are not characters that I play a lot, and I don't play Venom either. Ultron and Human Torch I think I'm a bit more worried about playing because they're both flyer characters and I'm really suck at them. But hopefully maybe I can get like 1 kill at least. Hopefully you enjoyed me talking about these books, talking about the characters and the gameplay as well, because I really like both Marvel Rivals and books, and I think it was a really fun idea to sort of combine these two interests. And I hope that if there's any of you out there who are interested in both of these things, that you might be inspired to take on this challenge as well. Goodbye.